The market was almost empty when Evan walked through it at sunset. The sky was turning red, and long shadows fell across the broken stalls. Most shops were closed. A few lamps flickered weakly, fighting against the growing darkness. The town felt tired, almost abandoned, as if fear lived in every corner and chased people away before night came. Evan had been traveling for many days, and he stopped here only to rest. But something about this place felt strange. The air was too quiet. The silence was too heavy. And every alien he passed avoided his eyes. They looked away, shut their doors, pulled their children inside, and pretended not to see him. It was as if the whole town feared speaking to a human. He kept walking, listening to the wind move dusty papers across the street. Then he heard a small voice behind him. "Human, please, wait." Evan turned slowly. A tiny alien girl stood in the middle of the street. Her clothes were torn, her hair was messy, her eyes were red from crying. She held a small wooden box in her shaking hands. Inside the box were a few old toys, scratched, broken, and faded from age. She hugged the box like it was the most important thing she owned. She took a shaky step forward. "Human, please buy my toys," she said, her voice trembling. "My brother hasn't eaten in days." Evan froze. He had seen poor villages before, but he had never seen a child speak with such fear. Her hands shook so much that one toy almost fell from the box. She quickly grabbed it and pressed it to her chest. "What's your name?" Evan asked gently. "Lyra," she whispered. "And your brother? Where is he?" A tear fell down her cheek. "He is sick. Too weak to come outside. But I have no food for him. I tried everywhere. No one will help me." Evan looked around. Windows closed quickly as he turned. Eyes disappeared behind curtains. No one wanted to be seen near the girl. No one wanted to be part of her problem. Evan knelt down slowly. "Why won't the others help?" Lyra looked at the ground. "They are scared," she said. "Of the hunters. Of the mark. Of us." Evan frowned. "Hunters? What hunters?" She shook her head hard. I cannot say. They will hear. They always hear." The wind grew colder. Evan felt something watching them, something hidden in the dark doorways. Lyra stepped closer, her body shaking harder now. "Please," she whispered, "take my toys. They are old, but I must buy food. My brother is waiting." Evan looked at the toys. They were simple handmade wooden figures, a broken spinning wheel, a small cloth doll with one eye missing. These were not toys someone sold. These were toys a child should keep forever. He looked back at her face, pale, afraid, but her eyes held strong determination. She was fighting for her brother with the only things she had left. Evan gently pushed the box back toward her. "I don't want your toys," he said softly. Lyra's face fell. She thought he was refusing to help. Evan smiled kindly. "I will help without taking anything from you." Hope flashed in her eyes, but only for a moment. She shook her head. "No. It is dangerous. If the hunters find out I spoke to a human, they will come for us faster." Evan's eyes narrowed. "Who are these hunters?" She looked behind her quickly, as if expecting someone to appear from the shadows. "They take children. Children with marks. Children like us. People disappear. My parents. They tried to protect us. Then they were taken too." A cold feeling ran down Evan's spine. Something dark was hiding in this town. Something cruel. "Take me to your brother," Evan said. Lyra hesitated. You really want to help?" "Yes," he said firmly. "No child should go hungry, and no child should fear asking for help." Lyra wiped her tears and nodded. She took a small step forward and pointed toward a narrow alley between two broken houses. "He is there," she whispered. "But please be quiet. The hunters hear everything after dark." Evan followed her, walking carefully through the alley. The ground was uneven, covered with trash and old metal scraps. The walls were covered in deep scratches, as if something with claws had passed through many times. As they walked deeper, the market lights faded behind them and the shadows grew darker. Lyra hugged her wooden box tightly. "Human, thank you," she whispered. "No one else stopped for me." Evan looked down at her small, shaking form and felt a rising anger toward whoever had made her this desperate. Something moved in the shadows. A head dot, a soft tapping, a rustle. Evan stopped walking. Lyra froze too. Someone or something was watching them. The night had only just begun. Evan followed Lyra through narrow streets that twisted like broken lines on old paper. The sky above the alien town had turned dark blue, and the evening wind felt colder than before. Lyra walked with small, careful steps, holding her toys close to her chest. Her head stayed low, as if she feared someone might call her name or, worse, stop her. Evan kept looking around because he felt eyes behind every door, watching and waiting for something he did not understand. Lyra finally stopped in front of a small hut, made from scrap metal and wooden planks. The door was only a loose sheet of metal hanging from one nail. She gently pushed it open. The inside was dark and smelled like smoke and old dust. Evan bent down to enter, and the moment he stepped inside, he saw a boy lying on the floor. The boy's skin looked pale, almost gray, and his body was so thin that Evan could see each bone under his skin. "That is my brother, Ryan," Lyra whispered. Ryan's eyes opened slowly, but he did not speak. His lips were dry. Evan knelt beside him and checked his breath. It was weak, slow, and tired. Evan opened his bag and took out food-soft bread, warm fruit, and a small water pack. Ryan tried to sit up but fell back. Evan helped him lift his head and brought the water pack close. The boy drank with shaking hands as if every drop was treasure. Lyra sat beside her brother and touched his forehead. "He has not eaten in many days," she said, her voice trembling. "I gave him my part, but I also got weak. I tried to sell my toys, but no one wanted them, and others are scared to help." Evan looked around the tiny hut. There were scratches on the walls, deep marks like something tried to claw its way inside. The roof had holes that let cold wind pass through. He saw small footprints near the door, as if someone had been standing there again and again, watching the children. "Lyra? Who comes here?" Evan asked softly. She did not answer. Her body tensed. Her fingers dug into the ground. She turned her face away, afraid to speak. Evan waited patiently. After a moment, she whispered, "The hunters, they search. They come at night." Evan felt the air grow heavier. "Hunters?" he repeated. Lyra nodded. "They take children, and no one sees them again. My parents tried to protect us, but they were taken too." Evan's heart sank. He had traveled many worlds, seen danger, seen wars, but this felt different. This felt like fear that lived in every corner of this place. He wanted to ask more questions, but Lyra raised her hand quickly. "Please do not say their name too loud," she said, her voice sharp with fear. "They hear things. They know things. Everyone is scared of them." Ryan finished eating a small piece of bread and tried to sit up again. Evan helped him lean against the wall. The boy looked at Evan with weak eyes and whispered, "Are you leaving?" Evan shook his head. "No, I am here to help." The boy took a slow breath. "No one helps humans here," he said. "And no one helps us. If they see you here, you will be in danger." Evan looked at the doorway, imagining tall shadows standing outside. "Then we stay quiet," he said, "and we stay together." Lyra looked at him with wide eyes, surprised by his kindness. She picked up her toys, the same toys she tried to sell, and placed them beside her brother. There was one small wooden figure with a broken arm. She held it for a moment, almost as if it gave her strength. "My father carved this for me," she whispered. "I wanted to keep it safe, but I almost sold it today. Because I had no choice." Evan sighed. No child should have to make that choice. He saw her wiping tears with the back of her hand, trying to stay strong for her brother. Then something outside creaked. Evan froze. Lyra grabbed his arm. Ryan held his breath. The hut's door moved slightly as if pushed by someone. Evan quietly reached for the metal pipe lying near the floor. Footsteps. Slow. Heavy. Right outside. The hunters were close. Very close. Evan's heart raced. The children pressed against him, trembling, and he realized something terrible. This wasn't just a hunger problem. This was a trap waiting to close around all three of them. The footsteps outside the hut grew heavier, pressing fear into the hearts of everyone inside. Evan held the metal pipe tightly, his breath slow and quiet. Lyra covered her brother's mouth gently so he would not make a sound. The wind was still, as if the whole town was holding its breath. Then, the metal sheet door pushed inward a few inches. A long shadow stretched across the ground, thin and sharp like a blade. Evan moved slightly to block the children with his body. He did not know what stood outside, but he knew one thing for sure. Whoever they were not just passing by. They were looking for something, or someone. The shadow paused. Then the door closed slowly again, but the footsteps did not leave. They moved around the hut, circling it, each step sinking fear deeper into the children. Evan could hear low, strange voices, whispers that did not sound like normal speech. They hissed softly, like snakes speaking in a strange rhythm. Lyra grabbed Evan's sleeve and mouthed one word. "Hunters." The hut walls trembled as one of the figures scratched the outside with long metal fingers. Evan saw dust fall from the roof as the boy squeezed Lyra's hand tightly. The hunters were inspecting the hut, but for some reason, they did not enter. Not yet. After several long minutes, the footsteps faded away and the air felt lighter. Evan lowered the pipe, but did not relax. He knew they had not gone far. They were searching. They were listening. They were waiting. Evan whispered, "We need to talk. Tell me everything." Lyra's hands shook, but she nodded. She looked at the floor and spoke in a soft, broken voice. "The hunters. They take children from many towns. They say they take them to fix something, but they never return. No one knows what they do with them." Ryan's voice was weak but steady. "They mark children like us. They say our blood is special." Evan felt anger build inside his chest. Special? Why? Lyra opened her mouth, then closed it again, scared. She pointed at her brother's neck. Evan leaned closer and saw a faint glowing mark under the skin, like a symbol made of thin blue lines. The same mark was on Lyra's arm, hidden under her sleeve. "We were born with it," she whispered. "And because of this, they say we belong to them." Evan clenched his jaw. Children should never belong to anyone. He looked out of the door to make sure no shadows returned, then turned back to the children. "Why is no one helping you?" he asked. Lyra looked at him with sad, tired eyes. "Because the hunters rule this place. The people fear them. If someone helps a marked child, they vanish too." Evan understood now why everyone looked away in the market. Why the town felt empty and silent. Why the girl had tried to sell her toys rather than ask anyone else for help. This place lived under fear. Ryan breathed shallowly. "Human. You should leave while you can. They will hurt you too." Evan shook his head. "I'm not leaving." But as he said those words, he heard something that made his heart tighten. Footsteps. Again. Closer. Faster. This time, more of them. Evan moved to the doorway and looked outside. 3 tall figures stood in the street, their silver eyes glowing even in the weak light. They were not hiding anymore. They were waiting, watching, studying him. One of them took a step forward. Even from far away, Evan could see something cold. In the alien's gaze, something that enjoyed fear. The hunter tilted his head and smiled, but his smile was wrong, sharp, too wide. Then he spoke. "We saw you with the girl." Evan's heart pounded. "We know the runaways are here," the hunter said, voice smooth like poisoned honey. "And we know humans love to save broken things. Come out and talk. We only want what belongs to us." Evan felt Lyra shaking behind him. He could hear her breath coming out in quick, scared bursts. Ryan clung to his sister's arm, too weak to run or hide. Evan stepped forward slightly so the hunters would not see them. The hunter took another step, smiling wider. "If you hide them, you break our law. And breaking our law means you join them." Evan's grip on the metal pipe tightened. His instincts screamed danger, but he refused to move aside. The hunter leaned forward. "Where are the children, human?" Evan stared straight into his cold eyes and said nothing. The hunter's smile faded. All three hunters turned their heads in. The same slow, unnatural motion, and Evan finally understood. They were not just searching, they were hunting him now too. The hunters stood in the street like tall metal statues, their silver eyes glowing in the dim night light. Evan kept his body firm in the doorway, not letting them see the children hiding behind him. The air felt heavy, as if even the wind refused to pass between the hunters and the hut. Their faces did not move, but Evan felt their anger like burning heat on his skin. One hunter stepped closer. "Human, you stand in our way." His voice was calm, but the calm was dangerous, like a quiet storm before lightning strikes. "We know the marked ones are here. Give them to us." Evan did not move. The hunter raised one long hand. His fingers were metal-like, shaped like sharp claws. He pointed directly at Evan's heart. "You cannot stop us. Humans break. Humans fear. Humans run." Evan answered in a firm voice, "Not today." The hunter tilted his head, surprised that a human dared to talk back. Behind Evan, Lyra and Ryan held their breath. Evan slowly closed the door, locking the children inside. The hunters did not stop him, they simply watched, as if curious how long he could stay brave. When the door clicked shut, Lyra grabbed Evan's sleeve. "Why did you talk to them?" "They will hurt you now," she whispered. Evan knelt beside her. "If I don't stand up now, they will take you. I won't let that happen." Lyra looked down at her toys, her shoulders trembling. "No one has ever stood for us, not even our neighbors. Not even the elders." She paused. "They say marked children bring danger. They say we are cursed." Evan shook his head firmly. "You're not cursed, you're scared. And you're alone. That's not the same thing." Ryan coughed softly, trying to speak. "Human, the hunters will come back. They always do. They never forget the ones they want." Evan helped Ryan sit up. "Then we need to understand why they want you." Lyra hesitated, then looked toward the far corner of the hut. There was a wooden crate covered by a cloth. She slowly pulled it away. Inside were small notebooks, broken devices, and papers full of strange symbols. "This was my father's," she said quietly. "He studied the mark. He tried to find out what it meant. He said it was not a curse. He said it was power." Evan leaned closer. "Power? What kind?" Lyra opened one of the notebooks. Inside were drawings of children with glowing marks. Notes about energy. Notes about strange abilities. Notes about hunters arriving every few years to collect marked ones. "My father said our blood has a special energy," she whispered. "He said the hunters sell this energy to someone far away. He tried to stop them." Her voice broke. "They took him first." Evan felt a cold anger rise in him. "So they take children to use their power?" Lyra nodded. "Yes, and we are the last marked ones in this town. That is why they follow us." Suddenly, something hard hit the hut wall. The metal sheet rattled loudly. Lyra jumped and held her brother close. The hunters were testing the structure, checking if they could force their way inside. Another hit. Another rattled out. Evan tightened his grip on the pipe. The hunters' voices echoed from outside. "Human, open the door. Do not anger us. You cannot keep them." Evan whispered, "Stay behind me. Do not make a sound." He moved to the doorway again, and before the hunters struck the hut a third time, he opened the door, just a crack. The three tall figures stood there, closer than before. Their silver eyes glowed brighter now. "We will take what belongs to us," the tallest hunter said. "You delay what cannot be stopped." Evan stepped out, blocking the doorway with his body. "You won't touch them." The hunters stared at him with cold amusement. "Do you know what happens to humans who protect marked ones?" one asked. Evan did not answer. "They vanish," the hunter whispered. "Just like the marked." Evan felt the threat like ice in his chest, but he still refused to move. His silence was louder than words. The hunters looked at one another. Then, without warning, they turned and walked away, but not far. They stood at the end of the street, forming a line, waiting. "Watching. They will not attack the hut," Lyra whispered from behind him. "They wait until we run. That is their way." Evan looked at the children. "Then we won't run," he said. "We escape on our terms." Lyra's eyes widened. "Escape? But where?" Evan pointed toward the dark forest outside the town. "Somewhere they can't control. Somewhere they don't expect." Lyra held her brother close, hope and fear mixing on her face. "Can we really escape them?" Evan nodded. "I promise you. I will get you out." But as he looked toward the forest, he felt a strange energy in the air, something powerful, something ancient, something waking. And he realized this story was far bigger than three hunters or one broken town. This was the beginning of a war for two children who had been marked since birth. The hunters waited at the far end of the street like tall metal shadows. They did not move. They did not blink. They simply stood there, blocking the main road, watching the hut where Evan and the two children hid. Their silver eyes glowed like cold lanterns in the night. Every second that passed made the air feel tighter, like a rope pulling around Evan's chest. Inside the hut, Lyra sat beside her brother, holding his hand. Ryan's breathing was softer now after the food, but he was still weak. Too weak to walk, too weak to run. Lyra looked at Evan with scared eyes. "Human, what will you do?" she whispered. Evan looked around the small hut. It was falling apart. The walls had holes. The roof shook in the wind. This place could not hold off the hunters for long. And they couldn't stay hidden until morning. The hunters would not get tired. They would not give up. They would wait until the children starved or tried to flee. He knew he had one choice. "We escape tonight," he said. Lyra's eyes widened. "But the hunters, they watch everything." Evan nodded. "We don't use the main road. We take the back alleys, the ones too narrow for them to enter." Lyra swallowed. "Even so, someone will see us." Evan knelt beside her. "Do you trust me?" She hesitated, then slowly nodded. "Yes." Evan looked at Ryan. "Can you walk at all?" Ryan tried to push himself up. His legs trembled, but he managed to sit straight. He shook his head softly. "Not far." Then, "I'll carry you," Evan said. Ryan opened his mouth to protest, but no words came out. He simply nodded. He knew he had no other choice. Evan helped Ryan climb onto his back, wrapping the boy's thin arms around his shoulders. The boy was light, too light, like he hadn't eaten for weeks. Evan's heart tightened with anger toward those who let this happen. Lyra grabbed her two remaining toys and held them close. One of them was the wooden figure her father carved for her. She pressed it against her chest like a small shield. Evan peeked through a crack in the hut's wall. The hunters were still there, silent, waiting, like wolves watching trapped prey. "We leave through the back," Evan whispered. The back exit was a small hole in the wall, hidden behind a crate. Evan pushed it out gently. Cold air rushed in. The alley behind the hut was narrow and dark, just wide enough for one person to walk sideways. Perfect. Stay close, Evan said to Lyra. They slipped into the alley, moving slowly so the hunters wouldn't hear them. Lyra placed her feet, carefully copying Evan's quiet steps. Rayan's breath warmed Evan's neck as the boy tried to stay silent. Every sound felt loud, the rustle of cloth, the crunch of gravel, the beating of Evan's heart. They moved through shadows like ghosts. When they reached the end of the alley, Evan stopped. Ahead of them were two small houses built close together. Between them was a passage leading toward the forest. That way, Evan whispered. But as they stepped forward, a door suddenly opened. A frightened alien woman peeked out, gasping when she saw them. Her eyes widened with fear, not of Evan, but of the children. "You should not be here," she whispered harshly. "The hunters will kill anyone who helps them." "We don't want trouble," Evan whispered back. "Just let us pass." The woman pointed toward the sky. "They have drones. They search the streets." "You cannot outrun them." Lyra stepped forward. "Please. We only want to live." The woman's face softened, but fear chained her heart. "I'm sorry," she said. "I have my own children. If they take me, who will protect them?" She shut the door quickly. Evan clenched his jaw but kept moving. He did not blame her. Fear ruled this place. They reached the edge of the town. Only one road remained between them and the dark forest. The forest looked wild and old, but it was also their only chance. Evan glanced at Lyra. "Ready?" She nodded, though her hands shook. Ryan whispered weakly, "They are coming." And he was right. Footsteps echoed behind them, fast, heavy. Metallic. The hunters had realized their prey was gone. "Run," Evan said. Lyra sprinted beside him, her toys clutched tightly. Evan ran as fast as he could while carrying Ryan. The hunters shouted behind them, their voices sharp and angry. Silver eyes flashed in the darkness. One hunter raised a weapon. A beam of light shot past Evan, hitting the ground beside him and burning a hole in the dirt. "Keep running," Evan yelled. They reached the forest line. The trees stood tall and black, their branches moving like living arms in the wind. Lyra grabbed Evan's hand. "Please, don't leave us." "I'm not leaving," he shouted back. Another beam hit a tree beside them, making it explode into splinters. The hunters were close. Too close. But Evan did not stop. With one final push, he carried the children into the glowing darkness of the forest, hoping that whatever waited inside was safer than the monsters chasing them. Asterisk. The forest swallowed them like a giant dark mouth. Tall trees bent over the path, their branches twisting like long fingers. Strange blue lights glowed faintly between the leaves, pulsing like slow heartbeats. Evan did not know what kind of place this forest was, but he knew it was the only barrier. Between the children and the hunters. Behind them, loud footsteps entered the forest. The hunters did not slow down. Their metal boots crushed the dry leaves. Their silver eyes cut through the darkness like sharp blades. "They follow us. Always," Lyra whispered, shaking as she ran beside Evan. Ryan held onto Evan's back, his weak voice trembling near Evan's ear. "Human. They won't stop. They never stop." Evan tightened his grip on the boy's legs and kept running. His breath was heavy, his muscles burned. But he refused to slow down. He refused to lose. A beam of bright light flashed behind them. A hunter fired again. The beam hit a tree trunk, splitting it in half. The huge tree cracked and fell right behind Evan, missing him by inches. Lyra screamed, stumbling forward. Evan grabbed her arm and pulled her along. "Keep moving. Don't stop." The forest grew thicker. Vines brushed against their faces. Strange glowing insects flew past like tiny lanterns. The ground rose and dropped in uneven waves. Evan felt Ryan's grip weakened slightly, but the boy held on. Then one of the hunters spoke from behind them. "Human, surrender. You do not belong here." His voice echoed through the forest like a cold wind. "You cannot win," another hunter hissed. "Give us the children. Save your own life." Evan didn't answer. He only tightened his jaw and ran faster. The hunters increased their speed. Soon Evan could hear their metal claws scraping the ground behind him. Lyra looked over her shoulder and saw one of them breaking through bushes with unnatural strength. "He's close," she cried. Before Evan could turn, a hunter leaped forward and landed right in front of them, blocking the path with a long arm made of shiny silver metal. His eyes glowed in the dark. His voice was calm, almost amused. "Human, you should have walked away." Evan stepped back, placing Lyra behind him. He slowly lowered Ryan to the ground. The boy leaned against a tree, trembling but still awake. "Stay behind me," Evan whispered. The hunter tilted his head. "You think you can fight us? You are flesh. We are metal. You are weak. We do not break." Evan didn't believe their lies. He had seen many machines fall in battle. He had broken metal before. But he had never felt fear the way he did now, not for himself, but for the two children behind him. The hunter took one long step forward. Evan swung the metal pipe with all his strength. Clang. The pipe hit the hunter's arm, sending sparks into the air. The hunter staggered back slightly, surprised. Evan didn't waste a second. He struck again, and again. Clang. Clang. The hunter growled, his glowing eyes flashing brighter. "You choose death," he shouted and swung his clawed arm toward Evan. Evan blocked with the pipe, but the impact threw him against a tree. Pain shot through his body. Lyra screamed his name. "Evan, please get up." Evan forced himself to stand. He tasted blood in his mouth, but he spit it out and raised the pipe again. The hunter lunged. Evan dodged and swung at the hunter's leg. The metal cracked slightly. The hunter screamed in rage and pushed Evan to the ground. Ryan, weak but brave, picked up a stone and threw it at the hunter. It hit the hunter's head, barely doing damage, but it distracted him for a second. Lyra ran forward and hit the hunter with her wooden toy, the small carved figure her father made. The toy snapped in half. The hunter turned to her, insulted. "You dare!" Evan tackled the hunter from behind, slamming him into a tree. The forest ground glowed suddenly. A deep hum filled the air. Blue lights rose from the forest floor, swirling around Lyra and Ryan like glowing ribbons. The hunter froze. Evan stepped back, breathing hard. Lyra looked at her hands. The marks on her skin were glowing bright blue. Ryan's chest mark lit up the whole area. The forest responded. A loud cracking sound echoed through the trees as something ancient awoke. The hunter stumbled back. "No, this forest is forbidden. The marked ones must not be here." Evan stared at the glowing trees. "Why? What is this place?" Lyra whispered with awe. "My father. He said our energy comes from the ancient guardians. He said the forest protects us." The ground shook. A deep, powerful voice echoed through. "The forest old, wise, and furious. Who harms the children of light?" Evan turned from between the glowing trees. A tall elder figure stepped forward, surrounded by blue energy. The hunters stepped back in fear. For the first time they were the ones who wanted to run. The glowing figure stepped out from the deep forest, tall and silent at first, its body wrapped in soft blue light that moved like gentle flames. Its eyes were warm, not cold like the hunter's silver ones. Its presence alone made the trees bend slightly, as if greeting an old protector. Evan stood frozen, breathing hard, battered from the fight. Lyra held her broken toy tightly, her arm still glowing. Ryan leaned against a tree, faint but staring at the glowing elder with wide, hopeful eyes. The hunters, who only moments ago walked like gods, now took several steps backward. Their silver eyes flickered with something they were not used to feeling: fear. The elder spoke, its voice deep and old, echoing through the trees like rolling thunder. "Who dares to harm the children of light?" The hunters bowed their heads. "Elder, these children are marked property. They belong to us." The elder's eyes flared brighter. "Marked property?" He repeated, the words carrying quiet fury. "These children belong to no one. They are born from the ancient line. They carry the essence of the first light. They are sacred." The hunters hesitated and tried to speak again. "We are under orders. Their energy is needed. Their power." Before they could finish, the elder raised a hand. Roots burst from the ground, glowing blue, and wrapped around the hunters' legs, holding them in place. The hunters struggled, but the roots tightened like living chains. Evan stepped forward, still gripping the metal pipe, unsure what to expect. "Who are you?" he asked. The elder turned to him. For a moment, it felt like the entire forest breathed with him. "I am Torvath," the elder said. "Guardian of the first grove, protector of the ancient bloodlines. These children are the last sparks of the old tribes. Their power awakens only in the presence of danger or deep kindness." Lyra looked up at Evan. "It awakened because you helped us." Ryan nodded weakly. "You didn't run, even when they came." Evan felt heat in his chest, not from fear, but from pride. Torvath approached the children. He placed a glowing hand near their marks, but did not touch. The marks shone brighter, reacting to his presence. "Your parents fought to protect you," Torvath said softly. "They were taken because they refused to surrender you. Their sacrifice will not be forgotten." Lyra began to cry, not from fear, but from the relief of hearing that her parents were brave, not weak. Evan put a gentle hand on her shoulder. "Torvath," then looked at Evan. "You risked your life for children who are not your own." "Why?" Evan answered without thinking. "Because no child deserves to starve, and no child deserves to be hunted." The elder stared into Evan's eyes. Slowly he nodded. "Humans, your kind is unpredictable. Many bring destruction. Many bring greed. But some," he paused, "some bring light." The trees around them glowed brighter, as if agreeing. Torvath raised his hand again. The roots pulled the hunters into the ground, trapping them deeper until only their silver heads remained above the earth. Their eyes flickered in panic. "Your crimes are known," Torvath said. "You stole the young of many tribes. Your punishment will echo across your masters." Evan exhaled. The danger was finally ending. Torvath turned to Evan once more. "You have saved the last children of the ancient bloodline. And for that, you will be protected by the grove for all your years." The forest lights swirled around Evan. The warmth healed the bruises on his arms and face. His breath grew easier. Even Ryan began to glow softly, his strength returning. As if the forest fed him life, Lyra stepped closer to Evan. Will you stay with us?" Ryan asked softly. "Will you come to our village when it is rebuilt?" Evan smiled. "If you want me there, then yes." Lyra hugged him suddenly, tears soaking into his shirt. Ryan joined, weak but smiling. For the first time since he arrived on this world, Evan felt like he wasn't a stranger. He felt like family. Torvath spread his arms as the forest opened a glowing path deeper inside. "Come, the grove will shelter you until dawn. A new tribe will rise again, with these two as its heart." Evan lifted Ryan into his arms and took Lyra's hand. Together, they walked toward the light, leaving behind the broken town and its shadows. As they entered the shining path, Lyra whispered, "Human, thank you for giving us hope." Ryan added, "You saved us when no one else dared." Evan smiled. "No child should have to sell their toys to stay alive. You deserve better. And now, you will have it." The forest glowed brighter, wrapping them in safety, warmth, and promise. That night, A lone human became a legend among the ancient tribes, and the galaxy would one day whisper the name of the human who protected the children of light.